Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and welcome to today's intro. So what we're going to be talking about is inner talking and how it creates reality. So when you have an internal dialogue, what that means is essentially the thoughts that you are entertaining on a day-to-day basis in a conversational format that you loop and use to basically storytell about your world can be manipulated, right? So if I have a dialogue that's going on in my mind, the first thing that you want to do is you want to be aware that you do have a dialogue going on in your mind, right? So if you read a book, you read that book and you read it from left to right, and it puts syntax structure behind the words, and you basically read that. And what that does is it allows your mind to visualize what is happening, right? It allows your mind to understand what the story is and the context is of the reality in the book. So when you have your regular world, you are going throughout the regular world with the same type of process where you're looking at things, you're labeling them with words, and then you're combining them with other words, and you're cultivating stories in sequence with which you rehearse so much that you actually make them what are called dominant thoughts, meaning that you put so much attention and so much focus on them that you don't have to put really very much attention or very much focus to reiterate those stories, right? So this is like if you catch yourself and you have like a negative thought spiral running in your mind, right? Or you catch yourself and you have, a judgment of somebody. You're like, this person is always a piece of trash, or whatever your thought process is, right? So when you have these internal dialogues, what happens is you form them unconsciously because you're reading, you understand the language, and you also understand that in books, they describe things with language. So you start to adopt that way of thinking where you think about things and you describe them with your storytelling aspects. So when you first learn about that, what is interesting is you perceive it as just a narrative complex on a fixed reality. Because if I read a book, the story in the book is solidified, meaning that if I read a story about this book, it's already solid. I'm just observing and hearing from the mouth of the protagonist, what is happening as they describe it to me. Now, what gets interesting about inner dialogue is that the inner dialogue in your mind, as opposed to pages full of words, has an active creational effect on your reality. So if you have a kid who reads comic books his entire life, right? He will start to see the world more through the eyes of a hero or a comic book type of philosophy, right? Like he will quickly have his reticular activating system identify and address heroes and villains just based on the context within which his mind and his subconscious has been filled through reading these types of stories, right? So not only does the inner talking dictate your focus, it dictates your context of life, right? So if you have somebody who gave you a bunch of books about how the world is evil, you're going to be a villain. You're going to be like, the world's evil. This is trash. Like, we need to destroy this place. If you have a bunch of books about how great everybody is, you're always going to hold the belief, because a belief is just a thought repeated over and over and over again, that people are good, right? So on a baseline mindset aspect, inner talking dictates where your focus and where your awareness goes. Now, on a metaphysical, conscious type of law of attraction creation spectrum, inner talking is cultivation of your ideal or unfulfilled, unwanted states. So if you have a word which is the basis of a sentence, and sentences build stories, a word is a label on a vibration. So if I have a piano, I have A, B, C, D, E, F, the different keys, A, B, C, the different tones are different vibrations, meaning that every single letter, A, is not really the actual meaning from a vibrational standpoint of what it is labeling. And that's really important to understand, because Words are labels for vibrations, and vibrations are the octaves within which you determine the spectrum of consciousness that you want to experience. So if I have a thought in my head all day that is bad, 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 things are going to happen, bad, 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 I don't even want to do that. You can see the energy behind that versus everything's going good, everything's going good, everything's getting better, everything's getting better. Wow, this is great. Everything's getting better, everything's getting better. Do you feel the energetic differences behind those two different thoughts? When you think and when you use inner dialogue, it's not to placate, or no, I don't want to use that word. It's not to mindlessly just repeat the words as if they are, a storybook and you're just describing the world. The real intention behind using the inner dialogue is to construct steady vibrational emanation in a wanted bandwidth of frequency. Because if I have an inner dialogue, what is just as important as the words that I'm saying is the intent and the vibration behind them, right? Because that's how we really speak. Have you ever been at a friend's house and they have a kid and you look at the kid and they look at you like this, and then you look at them like this, and you have a whole conversation without saying anything? You just read their emotional scape and they read yours, and they're like, who is this guy? You're like, who is this kid, right? And it's like this whole funny nonverbal conversation, and you make a silly face and they make a silly face, and it's like you didn't say a word, but you just communicated, right? So words are to be taken literally, but they're also to be taken energetically. So when I have a dream desire, or I have a reality in which I wish to shift. So say it's very simple, I want to get a car. Say I want a Lamborghini, right? And I don't have a Lamborghini currently. My current reality has showcased that there's no Lamborghini outside, right? So what would I do if my dream vision was to get the Lamborghini? Well, I would want to start to think from the end as if I had it. Why do I want to do that? I don't want to do that to gaslight myself or to make myself feel like I have it when I don't. The reason is that if I start thinking as if I have that thing, if I'm playing the tones of reality, if I'm activating the vibrations that are in alignment with a version of me that has it, with my understanding and basis of knowledge and law of attraction, I understand that like attracts like, meaning that similar vibrations are magnetized to other vibrations, right? It's the same type of concept where if you see somebody who always dates the same person, but it's a different boy or different girl, right? Like they always have the same type of relationship. It's either toxic or it's really good, right? But it's constant. You notice people always attract the same partners, right? That's because they have a specific type of vibration or state of consciousness within them that attracts that type of person, because it's a match to that type of person within them. Within them, they have a signal that matches that, right? So when you change your inner dialogue, the storytelling and the word aspect of it is important for precision. That's why you want to have good inner dialogue, because if you say something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have a Lamborghini, every single word and every single vibration in that sentence matches the version of myself that has that car, right? So it's more about accuracy and vibrational intent and emotional intent than it is about the actual words. But the actual words, you could, but you wouldn't want to play a piano without understanding what the labels of the keys are so that you can read sheets of music, right? Understanding the language helps you be more precise in your vibrational output. So understanding that the inner talking is a powerful way to shift your inner reality, is understanding that you are basically plugging in product codes to your subconscious to receive what is in alignment with that inner talking. So when you look at inner talking, you can look at it also from a subconscious standpoint, subconscious programming standpoint as well. Your mind is 90% subconscious, which means the aspect of your mind that controls things like cell growth, things like, how many times your heart beats, how your genetics are, All of these things are subconscious mind patterns, right? Really what the subconscious mind does is it creates patterns that require a lot of energy to sustain that would be too much for your conscious mind to focus on 24/7. So your conscious mind is your selector and your chooser. It's about 5%. I misspoke. Your subconscious is 95% and your conscious mind is about 5% of your overall mental computing power, meaning that if you look at a computer, 5% is the desktop, 95% is all the shit in the box, like the graphics card and the, whatever else is in the computer, right? When you have a computer, the power isn't in the monitor. There's a little bit of power to power the monitor up. The monitor is the choice point selector awareness focal point. That's what you focus on, right? The computer is the powerhouse that executes. So when you're thinking of inner dialogue from a subconscious programming standpoint, what you're doing is you're inputting programs into your subconscious to be executed in the same way that a computer would run a program for a video game or for Excel or anything like that, right? So you always want to make sure that your inner dialogue is matched to your wish fulfilled as it is happening now, as if it has happened now, because everything in very real sense is happening now. Even if you think about the past, you're conjuring a mental image right now. Or if you think about the future, you're conjuring a mental image right now. It's a really good thing to know because you can alter those conversations and you can alter those vibrations in the now moment to match and align with what you want, right? A lot of times we tell the same old stories about things that happen to us and we create narratives that we don't question. We just say, well, that's how it was. This is da 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 da. Well, if you ever look at a crime, when they ask witnesses what happened, everybody has a different fucking story about it, right? The the victim certainly has a different story than the perpetrator, right? So it's the same event, different perspectives. The events won't be changed, but the perspectives can. And that's even more powerful because right now you're attracting things based off of your frequency, based off of how you are feeling, based off of the states of consciousness that you're in. So when you have the ability to change that now point state of consciousness, you now have the ability to change what you are attracting in terms of people, places, and circumstances in your now and your near and far future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on inner talking. If you have more suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. Additionally, the link tree has all of the coaching for calls and emails and such. And most importantly, go conquer. See you guys in the next one.